Now, welcome to another edition of News from Naboo, a special edition, I think.
Absolutely.
All right, well, let's get right to that news.
All right, we're going to talk about something near and dear to Thor's heart. Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes, the trailer dropped.
The trailer dropped. It's interesting. This movie is actually partially brought to you by Hasbro.
Well, Hasbro does own it.
It does own it, and they were involved in the creativity. They're listed.
Wizards bought...
E1 is them.
Wizards of the Coast bought TSR. Or Wizards was bought by Hasbro, so it just, kind of got consumed by the giant thing that is Hasbro.
Consumed like a...
I remember when it was just TSR. I actually grew up near Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, where it was.
There's a museum there.
Yeah, there is.
And a really cool themed restaurant / game store is coming there eventually.
Perhaps, yeah.
Perhaps.
I'm not sure how that's all panning
so.
out, but I've heard about... Anyway, we're getting way off topic, but no, that's where my old stomping ground was. Actually, I grew up in that area, so...
Right. The reason we're going to be talking about D&D is because they just released the Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves trailer.
Yep, they did.
And as you talk about D&D a lot, with Meme Mondays,
Monday usually,
especially.
Yeah. I think I made a video a while that we did on
and
this channel.
And in Discord.
Yeah, and in just real life.
And in real life.
I've been playing the game for
life.
probably over 30 years at this point. Probably started in...
He started in diapers.
Really late 80s, early 90s when I was like 11 or 12. Yeah. So I've been playing for over 30 years. So I started playing D&D, Advanced D&D 2nd Edition is where I started. Though I have played like the earlier editions too.
I haven't played much.
Yeah.
I'm still very beginner.
Yeah, you are very beginner.
But we know D&D is on the rise because of...
it's kind of crazy to think
it's
crazy to think it's more popular now than it's ever been before. That it's kind of gone mainstream, which playing it back in the 90s.
Stranger Things is giving it the popularity.
Well, sure, but Stranger Things I like that Stranger Things portrays it as something that a lot of people thought was like this really satanic and really
because that's what
evil
people actually thought.
No, that's genuine. Even in early 90s I played it, there was still this vibe around the game like you must be satanic, and it's like, nah, it's just a bunch of friends getting together, having fun, and doing stupid adventures together a lot of the time.
Not satanic. Nerd.
No, there's nothing satanic. You're actually playing the heroes. Most of the time you can play the bad guys, but 9 times out of 10 you're running around as heroes trying to save the world. So
all right, so the trailer, it had a lot going on in it.
It did. I'm mixed on it because...
Yes, I remember your initial thoughts.
My initial reaction was like, okay. There's a lot I love. I love that it actually has D&D. For anybody who remembers the movie, I think late 90s, mid 90s. I don't remember when that steaming pile of a movie came out. That first one is just, it's garbage. It's hot garbage. It might be like one of those fun cult movies that some people like, but it is not D&D. So I was kind of hoping with this one they'd go a little more, serious. Edged. I guess I hadn't really paid much attention to what this was, who was in it, what it was going to be, any of that. I just heard it was coming, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's supposed to be SDCC. We're going to get a trailer. Like, okay. So I had really no idea what it was going into it, and so I was a little taken aback by the hilarious. I remember we did in the video the other day, it was kind of described as like hilarious and funny, and I'm like, oh, I was kind of expecting a little more serious, a little more Lord of the Rings, a little less Guardians of the Galaxy, I guess, if that makes sense. Trying to take the material, because there's a ton of lore in D&D, different worlds. I'm sure a lot of you listening know that. So I was kind of thinking it would be a more serious kind of story, the actual universe, where this turns out to be more like what D&D characters are like in those worlds, if that makes sense.
It's very different because I think you were expecting it to be like one of the Forgotten Realms books.
Yeah.
One of the actual lore books. Yeah.
Dragonlance is my number one. I love Forgotten Realms. Some of the other world, there's Spelljammer, Greyhawk. The list goes on. Ravenloft is great. So
you were expecting one of those books pretty much translated.
Yes, that's kind of what I was expecting.
Instead, we're getting a D&D campaign.
Yes, you're getting like characters
set in the world.
Yeah, you're getting like player characters in the world is what it kind of feels like, which I don't dislike that idea. It just wasn't what I was expecting. So there was this initial like, oh, that's what it's going to be. As soon as the music kicked in, and I'm like, oh, Led Zeppelin. Okay. I like Led Zeppelin. They're fine. But I was like, that's not the kind of mood and thing. But then I watched it. I'm like, I've watched it a couple times since. I'm like, I love all the different settings. There's actual D&D characters. I think my favorite part is the Black Dragon. Oh, acid breath. As soon as that was the one thing I commented on the first time we watched. I'm like, it's a Black Dragon spitting acid breath. Like, most people don't they think dragon, fire. That's all dragons do. Like, no. There's different dragons, different breaths. So
and we also got a red dragon in there with the fire breath.
There was red, yeah. You have to have a fire-breathing dragon. Come on now. But
it's called Dungeons and Dragons.
I mean, owl bears, gelatinous cubes, displacer beasts.
Oh my god, mimic.
Yeah, the mimics.
Oh,
yes, there's tons of actual like D&D creatures, D&D lore. It's in there. It's just not taken the way I thought it was going to be taken. Which again, I'm not upset about. The more I come to terms with it and watch the trailer, I'm like, okay, let's be excited for this. This could be really fun. It could be really good because D&D is fun.
Hey, these characters didn't min-max though. They didn't. They didn't like optimize.
We don't know that yet.
Well, a tiefling druid.
No, that's really
no. They don't have the right skill set for that. They don't need charisma.
No, yeah, that tieflings are charisma.
That racial bonus doesn't help them.
Now they're changing racial bonus. Let's not get too far into what they're doing.
We're in 5e right now, so
yes, 5e is not my favorite. 3.5 is probably my favorite edition.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, I don't know. I'm still second edition. First one I ever played is got a near and dear to my heart. But it was not what I expected, but it looks like it could be a really fun, really good movie, and I hope it is. I hope, I like Chris Pine, a big fan of his, so right. Michelle Rodriguez, I think, is in this as well.
Yeah, she's playing the warrior barbarian person.
Yeah, so love her as well, and so there's a lot of,
Hey, my guy from
Bridgerton? Yeah, he just pointed that out. He's the
paladin from season 1. He's the what looks like a paladin right there.
Yes.
I was like, oh, I know you. I know
you. I mean, you've watched Bridgerton I don't know how many times, so.
Whatever.
I always seem to come in during the love scenes, quote unquote. So I'm like, what are you watching?
What are you watching? I'm like, you've missed the first 45 minutes.
Every time, it's like I'm lured to it, which sounds perverse, but every time I come in and you're watching it, I'm like, what is this? What are you watching now? Anyway, that's a whole other topic. But no, I what did you think of it? I mean, as someone who is kind of newer to the game, because for whatever reason, we've been together for years and years at this point. We've known each other for even longer, and you've never played D&D with us. Not because you didn't want to, just because it has never kind of worked out. So as a newer player, somebody who's been playing the game for about a year, what did you think of it?
That's generous.
I said about.
Right from the beginning, I actually really liked it, and I didn't even pick up on a lot of the lore stuff that you did. I mean, we're seeing these beautiful locations, and you're like, oh, I know where that is. We're here. And I'm like, sure we are. I mean, I recognized the Underdark immediately and got excited. Yeah, so I was like, cool. Drizzt lives down there. He's my boy. He's everyone's boy.
Well, yeah, he's he's probably the most popular character in D. Well, maybe not.
Maybe. It's Drizzt. Everyone knows Drizzt.
Maybe. I don't know.
But no, I watched the trailer and I liked it. I thought it was really cool. I thought the world looked amazing. The CG looked good. I loved seeing that owlbear. I was like, look at that owlbear. It's so awesome.
It was funny because you asked me, like, what is that? I'm like, it's an owlbear. And then, like, 2 seconds later in the trailer, like, what is that? It's an owlbear. I'm like, what the world's going on right now?
It was a little rough to see during the trailer because it was moving around, obviously, and attacking. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really cool, and I'm excited to see where the story goes. We also watched some sort of a creator/D&D dude video, or I watched this video because I wanted to know more about the creatures in there.
You watched a D&D dude video, but yes.
I did, so I learned a little about the creatures in there, and I thought the gelatinous cube sounded really cool, and Hasbro is actually making that.
I saw the toy. Like, that's not an action figure, that's a cube.
It's a cube, yes, and it has random pieces stuck into it, and it'll fit a 6-inch scale figure. It doesn't come with one. It will fit one inside of it,
and it could be yours for only, like, $35.
Yeah, it was like $35 for the cube. And it was funny because then they also released it. They're like, hey, you want a giant Tesseract that comes with a Loki from the TVA? I'm like, is that just the gelatinous cube? A little bit wavy? With a light bulb in it?
That's double dipping right there.
It is double dipping.
Yeah, not that Hasbro has ever repainted or repurposed anything. No, they don't do that sort of thing.
No. I don't believe that of one second.
No, Hasbro is the most upstanding and, morally sound company that has ever existed. One
thing I got excited about, especially reading that interview that I was into, was that they needed the creators of the show said they needed a prison. And they went to the D&D people, and they're like, we need a prison. Do you guys have anything that'll fit these specifications, what we need? And they're like, no. We don't have anything that'll fit the specifications that you're looking for. But we'll build you one. And they built one for this movie, and then they inserted it into the Icewind Dale campaign that came out in 2020.
I generally don't do the pre-made campaigns. I usually make my own campaigns, but...
That's why I don't recognize the creature.
Yeah, I know, because, you get my stupid lore, not the actual, D&D lore, so...
But I thought that was really cool that people who've played through that campaign will be like, I remember this prison. I remember this from this newer game.
Well, like I said, a lot of the stuff is from D&D. I mean, just classic D&D,
Right.
Cities like Waterdeep, Baldur's Gate, Neverwinter, the whole Sword Coast there.
Sword Coast.
Yeah, so... And I think they do go to the Dale lands, or with... the prison must be... I don't know. I haven't played.
You haven't played Icewind Dale, though?
Yeah.
I mean, I do hope the music isn't quite so jokey, because I really don't need this to be Dungeons and Dragons in Galaxies of the Guardians 2.0.
Galaxy of the Guardians, yes.
Galaxy of the Guardians.
That was a good movie, yes. But no, I know it. That's kind of how I felt. It felt like it had that...
It's because of the music.
Yes. Yes.
But I don't want it to be that. I want it to make sure it distinguishes itself. It's a standalone thing and not constantly being compared to similar property.
Yeah, I hope it has its own... I hope it doesn't come off feeling like just kind of the funny Guardians of the or the new Thor films kind of... I want it to be... It can have its humor, but I do hope it has a seriousness to it, and it doesn't... The humor doesn't kind of... we don't have to be like the Taika Waititi film where it's like, oh, we had a serious moment, now it's time for a stupid joke. No. Like, okay.
It doesn't sit well with me. It's too repetitive.
I hope it takes itself seriously. I think that's what I hated out of the original movie. It's like we took the name D&D and we made it like this something that just didn't take itself seriously, and it was just kind of ignored pretty much everything about D&D and what makes it good. Like I said, originally that's not what I thought it was going to be or expected, but it looks like it's going to take the things that make D&D fun and good, because there's a lot of humor in it. Anybody who's played the game, sitting around the table with your friends, there are times when you're joking around and it's, it's very funny, and there are times when you do get that dead serious, that the culmination of a year-long campaign, whatever it might be, your final battle against the villain you've been hearing about for a year. Mm-hmm. So I do hope it captures both of those things, that it does have I've come around and realized, yes, let's have the fun, let's have the humor in there, but let's also have that serious side as well.
I want it distinguished, though, from Guardians of the Galaxy and from Vox Machina.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely.
I think Vox Machina was just a little too raunchy.
I only saw part of it.
I worry that that's why people get into it, and that's what they want to make for their characters. And I'm like, be original, be true to yourself, make your character the way you want to make it. Don't try too hard to be something. Be yourself and have fun.
We could go into whole... I don't know if people are interested in more D&D content, because I love D&D. But I think that's one of the... And again, I'm going to sound like I'm gatekeeping and, you got to play it the old school way. But that's one of the things I see with D&D today is it's kind of, it's mimicry. Like when the first time I played D&D, I had never seen a video. Me and my friends literally picked up these books, read them, and like, okay, let's try to play this. And I think that's where a lot of people started to play. There's, we're talking 80s, 90s. Nobody had the internet. Yeah. It wasn't on TV, obviously, unless they were telling you how satanic it was. So I think a lot of people kind of, they learned their own way to play the game. And nowadays, I think there's a lot of mimicry. You see it online. There's people who stream it, and you're like, I want to play like that. Now,
right. I want a session like their session.
Exactly. And Matt Mercer, fantastic. He's awesome, all those things. But there's that part of you that watches like, wow, my D&D campaign's going to be just like that. I want to be just like that. I want to play just like that. And I don't know. I think people need to find their own kind of way to play, and I think eventually they do.
I hope so. The two new people who we've added to our campaigning,
my nephews actually,
they both have come off of wanting to play from Critical Role Vox Machina,
because they have that weird kind of play strange.
And they both play that way.
Which I've told them they can play however they want.
Right.
And at the same time, it's like I could tell you're not finding your own way. You're trying to mimic that and think that's what D&D is. But you're
trying to be funny. Yes. And it's actually making the campaign rough, because now I can't talk to that NPC because you severely offended them, and I might have needed some information or something from them. But now you've gone and ruined it by being a weirdo.
But anyway, I agree. I don't want to cut you off, but I think we're running close to 15. So if you do want us discussing D&D more, I mean, I don't know, I'd certainly be happy to do that. We made a video a while back, when we were first really getting into this channel, we made a D&D video, so maybe a couple more here and there, because I do love D&D. 30 years devoted to it. Hoping the movie is fantastic, but...
We will be covering more information from San Diego Comic-Con, more trailers, and what we think is up with what's coming up. But
what's up with what's
Dungeons
coming
and
up,
Dragons: Honor Among Thieves will be coming out March next year.
I'm looking forward to it.
Good, because I want to see this one.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all we got for you this time. Now it's your turn to take to the comments below and tell us what you thought of the D&D trailer, or tell us if you'd like to see a little bit more D&D content. We are always open to doing more things, more videos. So take to the comments below. Let's talk some Dungeons and Dragons. And until next time, thanks for watching.